Welcome to Saudi Arabia, one of the richest country in the world. This country is well known as one of the richest oil-producing countries in the world, and having talked about the crown prince of this country in our previous video, we have decided to show you how the king and head of state of this beautiful country travel and all the properties he has acquired. Welcome to Highest Luxury, the home of the billionaires. If you haven't subscribed, I encourage you to subscribe, and I know you can do that in less than 5 seconds. Thanks for doing that for me. Alright, let's get started. If there is one thing you can be really sure of, is that the Saudi king always loves spending his money on a nice vacation, and as children, if we ever heard about the stories of ancient kings like Musa who traveled wearing golden robes, or others like him, most of us understandably thought those stories are nothing more than fairy tales, and if that is true, all we know is that there are few monarchs out there that truly know what it means to be a royalty. And first and foremost, among them is King Salman bin Abdul Aziz, so get prepared, because some of his spending and demands have really caused a lot of protests, which included thousands of people trooping outside, and if you make it till the end of this video, we may tell you about the crown prince. The well-known Mohammed bin Salman once ordered hundreds of strippers to an island that he rented out entirely during one of his trips. Meanwhile, as of 2022, King Salman turned 87 years old, and as a result of that, he doesn't travel as often as he did in his youth, but he has managed to sneak in a few visits in the last decade, one of the most prominent of which has been his most recent trip to Indonesia in 2017. So let's dive into few of the prominent details surrounding his trip. However, being the king of Saudi Arabia, he doesn't travel alone, but unlike other people of his importance, King Salman likes to go overboard. Let's just say overboard. Anyway, during his Indonesia trip, he brought with him not a few dozen or a few hundred, but more than 1,000 people, and all of those nearly 1,500 people came in a fleet of 7 aircraft. That includes Boeing 747s, Boeing 777s, Boeing 757, Boeing 737 and a Lockheed C-130 Hercules transport aircraft, and that was just for 9 days visit. And if you think that's the whole story, you're mistaken, because the king also brought a lot of luggage. Just how many, you may ask? Well, he brought a metric shipload, literally weighing over 500 metric tons. This travel luggage includes stuff like not one but 2 Mercedes cars that weighed more than 200 elephants combined. Now I know that whenever you or I travel, we always wish that somehow there would be no other tourists where we plan to go. Well, as it turns out, even national leaders sometimes feel that way, but the difference between them and us is that they don't just want the tourists gone, but they also want to get rid of the locals, and the other difference is that they can actually accomplish their goals. However, when King Salman visited the south of France in 2015, he did not only pull his regular routine of a massive entourage and airtight security, but he also got an entire beach closed off for his own private enjoyment and safety. Well, as you all can see, during his visit in coordination with the French government, which has been nurturing new links with Saudi Arabia and other Gulf Arab countries over the last 3 years, in order to better their business relations with these places. King Salman decided to make the villa a place to stay. This villa is on the Mediterranean coast in the scenic town of Vallauris. Interestingly enough, the same place has been the choice of other high-profile tourists as well. More specifically, it's the place where legendary actress Rita Hayworth celebrated her wedding to Prince Ali Khan in 1949, and as expected, King Salman traveled there with everything expected of someone like him, bringing a massive 1,000 people entourage, including servants and princes. Meanwhile, as a result of that, the local media brought a lot of attention to the area as well, helping the local economy. Yet in just a few days, he cut the 3 weeks visit short to leave for Morocco. So what really happened that could have possibly ruined this otherwise idyllic trip? Well, you see, being 80 years old at the time of this visit, King Salman is little less than fit for much walking. And because of that, whenever he travels, He likes to bring along with himself the entire elevators that can be assembled and disassembled whenever required. And one set of these elevators he installed in front of the villa down to the beach. And because he wanted to enjoy the serenity of the beach and keep his elevator secure, it caused the local visitors in the beach a lot of problems. As a result of that, in just a few days of his arrival, nearly 150,000 people signed an online petition to have King Salman vacate the beach. Now in the past, this might have prompted the king to take that as a sign of disrespect to the royal family, but King Salman said that he respected the French people and also hoped that his schedule next year would permit a visit to nearby Cannes, where the famous film festival is held annually. So he promptly left the country, allowing locals to once again visit their lovely beaches. And those are just two of the most recent trips that the king has made. The king has been to Russia, where he brought with him his iconic golden escalator and also had 800 kilograms. There were also 1,764 pounds of food that was brought in every day from his hometown. He also bought out the famous Moscow Ritz for his entire stay. By comparison, that's the same place President Barack Obama and Trump stayed during their trips. But even though they didn't book out the entire place, he did the same thing when he booked out every single one of the 222 rooms in the Four Seasons Hotel Washington, D.C. in Georgetown. And that was when he traveled to the United States in 2015, showing you how luxurious and super rich the king loves traveling with. Well, that is enough for the king. Let's talk more about this great country called Saudi Arabia. Anyone who has heard of Saudi politics in recent years should know the man actually pulling the reins of this country, who is no other person than the current crown prince. Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who among other things has gained quite a bit of controversy due to his involvement in the Yemen war, and seeing who is going to replace his father as king in the coming decade. But have you thought about his own spending habits? Well, you'll be thrilled to know that not only is Salman moving in his father's footsteps, but he might just exceed him in just how lavish you can get. So let's talk a little bit about that. In one of his official trips, which have been growing in number, the majority have been diplomatic ones, and not leisure ones. But that doesn't mean the king's regent doesn't travel with the same pomp even if it is for work. For example, during his recent visit to Pakistan, there was a longtime ally of Saudi Arabia. The prince's airplane was escorted by an entire squadron of Pakistan Air Force's JF-17s and F-16s throughout his travel in Pakistani airspace. And then, if his importance wasn't emphasized already, he was greeted by the Prime Minister of the country upon his arrival and traveled with him to the Prime Minister's residence. There was also a time when the Crown Prince decided to travel to everyone's favorite West Coast destination, which happens to be the one and only Los Angeles, in order to woo Hollywood executives into opening up about his country. And how did he decide to spend his time on this so-called official trip? Well, he booked the entire Four Seasons Los Angeles, which if you couldn't already guess was, of course, in Beverly Hills. But the best part is that he didn't even stay at the hotel, but instead he gave it up to his entourage, choosing to stay in an unnamed place for security reasons. Shockingly enough, this is actually not the first time he has done that. Previously, he did the same thing at the Plaza Hotel in New York City when he and his posse were in town for a conference. And earlier the same year, when the Crown Prince visited France for 3 days, his luggage, although not as grand as his father's, was still more than a literal truckload. But that being said, these trips still have nothing on the kind of things he does on his leisure trips. And the best example of that was his undercover party in the Maldives, a scenic island country in the Indian Ocean. And during that trip, Mohammed bin Salman did not only rented out an entire island called Vela, which was designed to be one of the world's most luxurious and expensive destinations, and it had stuff like 4 dozen private villas, private decks, and swimming pools covering a quarter of the island, and even snow machines to create a snowscape on a tropical island. But the most impressive part was his hiring of over 150 models for the entertainment of just a few dozen men from the Middle East. And in all, this super exclusive event cost the prince a whopping $50 million, making them one of the richest family in the world. I hope you enjoyed watching today's video, and if you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to Highest Luxury channel for more. I still remain your friend, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for all your support. I love you all.